Are you struggling for consistency in your sim racing? Does your iRating look like a roller coaster? If so, we have good news for you. The way to get more consistent is to first understand what you're doing differently than the professionals. And VRS is the answer. With our competitive subscription, you will have the telemetry, setups, tutorials, and everything else you need to fully analyze your driving. Our data packs and the ability to compare your driving with the best in the world will show you exactly where to adjust your inputs, change your driving line, and shave seconds off of your lap times. And our powerful and precise Direct Force Pro wheelbase and precision pedals are being used by some of the world's best drivers. All these champions agree that VRS hardware is not just the best on the market, it's also priced well below the competition. So if you're looking to upgrade to direct drive and the best pedals in sim racing, VRS is your answer. If you want to get better, get faster, and make it happen sooner rather than later, you owe it to yourself to find out why so many people are switching to VRS. You'll be so glad that you did. Visit www.virtualracingschool.com and learn why the best use VRS.
The Hockenheim circuit may be a mere shell of its fearsome old self. The run through the woods now an overgrown thing of the past, but the circuit remains as challenging as ever, with overlapping areas that create many an opportunity to overtake and plenty of places to get it wrong. Today's drivers won't be able to rest on their laurels as they push these cars around this famous German track. Hello everyone and welcome to round 4 of the Radical Racing Challenge, brought to you here live on Apex Racing TV. My name is DJ Clark, with Samuli Kumo behind the scenes as our director and producer, and we are excited to be able to bring you the action here today. This, of course, being round 4, drivers have already been able to get themselves out on track a couple of times and get themselves a little bit more familiar with what is now a not new car in the form of the Radical SR10. We are in the midst of qualifying, though, right now for the race here today. Alfredo Malo leading the way in the number 1 machine, as you would expect him to do. Numbers obviously dictated by the driver's iRating, so keep an eye on that. If you see some drivers that look a little bit higher or lower than their numbers, that's going to be an indication that they're out of sequence a little bit and something to keep an eye on. Now, as we watch Malo dive down into the Spitzkehre, the hairpin at the end of the long parabolica, that's going to be one of the primary overtaking opportunities to keep an eye on. Another one here is going to be going down into the Mercedes Arena section. A very, very fast right-hander that then leads into this slow-braking left-hander and feeds its way back around here. It looks like it should be a pretty one-way street through the exit of that section, but I've seen many a time that drivers will go too wide through there, so keep an eye on that. Now as Malo brings his way down into what is arguably the fiercest corner on the track, there you see down through Mobile 1, gets it a little bit wrong. That's a brush-breaking lift-off corner. You've got to be very, very careful on that. It's very easy to track the car a little bit too far out wide and pick up an off-track, catch a little bit of that dirt on the outside. Malo, though, looks like he's been able to compose himself after that little bit of an off, get everything together down through the south curve, and he'll cross over the start-finish line. I don't believe that last lap counted for him there, courtesy of that runoff, and indeed, it looks like that he has been pipped to the pole position there. The rest of the field, as we look down, Ralston is in 3rd, followed by Nicholas Taylor in 4th, and rounding out your top 5 is Richard Quinn. But we'll take a look here at the number 3 right now. Andre leading the way, still trying to get in a few more of the laps here. The top time to beat a 1:33.55 1:34. That's about 0.2 of a second faster than anybody else on track. So a very, very good run here for the number 3 as we watch them bring the car down through the last couple of sections here through that Mercedes-Benz arena. Let's see if he's able to handle Mobile 1 a little bit easier than we saw Malo do a few laps ago. On down. That's a little bit more like it. You can use a little bit of that AstroTurf there on the outside. That is allowed, but you still want to be careful about that. You don't want to be applying the throttle going down through that section, as that can really, really throw you off. Now bringing the car down through the south curve right now. We only have about 1.5 minutes left here in qualifying, and I've got to imagine that the number 3 is going to continue on here and just try to work their way around a little bit, build that race rhythm as they go. Well, indeed, they're going to call it a stop and come to an end there. Here we have Javier Guerrero running around now down through the Sachs curve, that wickedly cambered corner that you think you can take a lot more speed into, but you really can't as you go. Now we see him coming down there past the drag strip that gained some infamy a couple of years ago, obviously when Formula 1 came back to the Hockenheimring. As there goes Guerrero across the line. He's going to be in P8. Looks like that was an improvement there for him, but not enough to move him up the charts at all, unfortunately. Only about 40 seconds left to go here in qualifying. We're going to take a look a little further up the field. This is Josh Brain in the number 4 machine as he brings his way around down on the long parabolica. This is going to be draft central, folks. You want to tuck up behind the drivers in front of you, try to get as much slipstream as possible, and maybe send a dive here down into the Spitzkehre to see if that's going to be able to work. Brain looks like he's able to navigate that corner absolutely perfectly, able to keep himself going here at this point. Now coming down to the Mercedes Arena section, a little bit of a tighter line, not letting the car track out too wide, but that's going to allow him to set up, and just like that, the checkered flag falls for qualifying, and we are ready to get racing here from the Hockenheimring for round 4. It's going to be Andy Dubinin leaning up in pole position in that number 3, followed by Alfredo Mello. Then it's Maurizio Arede and Josh Brain in row 2. Row 3 will be David Rolston and Nicholas Taylor, followed by Richard Quinn and Javier Guerrero. Alberto Moreno and Mika Hulkinen round out your top 10. In row 6, it's a row of Americans with Mike Clark and Jonathan Nichols. Then back in 13th position, it'll be Guy Robertson and Daniel Silva. Don Rathburn will be in 15th, followed by Salvador Salas with Jules Boats and Stuart Mathers in 18th. Miguel Leon will be tail end Charlie here, starting off in 19th position of this top split. These are the 19 best drivers here in this open session, so we will have to see how they sort themselves out, as there's not going to be a lot of time on the clock. Only a couple of minutes here, really, in the grand scheme of things. We've got a 14-lap race to be able to keep into consideration, so those drivers going to have to get on it rather early if they're starting farther back in the field. Still waiting for a couple of cars to line up on the grid. They've got about 45 more seconds to do so. Malo, Guerrero just pops onto the grid right now. Hulkinen, the other one that we are waiting for. So right now it's Malo and Hulkinen that we wait to see get onto the grid, and let these radicals go loose as both of them come out onto the grid, and we get ready to go racing from Hockenheim. Lights start to come on as the engines start to harmonize, and there goes the green. We are racing in Hockenheim. A very, very slow start there out of P3. That's losing positions already, and look at that. Malo already able to get the jump there on Dubinin, but he runs a little bit wide coming through the north curve. Let's see if this is going to be an opportunity here for Dubinin to be able to strike back as they come down into the parabolic entry. Contact there between the two leaders. That's going to be a spin around there for Malo, and he's going to find himself pointed the wrong way. It looks like Rolston's the one who's able to take the best advantage of it, as now Malo is going to rejoin back and all the way into 18th position. A terrible start there. A big gaggle of cars, though, work their way through the parabolica here as they start to fan out. 3 wide a little bit farther up in the field, coming down into the Spitzkehre. Let's see the battle for P2, the battle battle for P4. Really getting fierce here. Taylor and Dubinin. A little bit more contact farther back in the field. That's the number 3. I think that's Josh Brain, and it's a big calamity. Cars spinning around at the exit there of the hairpin. Everybody off. I believe that's Rathburn, Solis, Robertson, Nichols, Hulken, and many drivers involved in it. And indeed, a driver pointed the wrong way. That is Jonathan Nichols, who is able to turn his car back around and get going, but not without suffering some pretty hefty fall down through the order. A tough run there for the American and the number 19 machine. We focus back in now on the battle for P3. This is Taylor trying to hold off Guerrero right now with Brain and Arede right behind them. A lot of movement here, a lot of drivers moving up through the order. Big wiggle there coming out of the Sachs curve for Taylor. He's lucky to be able to get that number 6 back up underneath him, but not without losing a little bit of time. And rest assured that Javier Guerrero is going to recognize a little bit of blood in the water and try to push ahead. Lap 1 in the books here for the Radical Racing Challenge. Ralston, Dubinin, Taylor, Guerrero, Brain, Arede. That's the battle that we're following right now as we watch Maurizio holding on to the back here of the UKNI driver of Josh Brain as they charge their way down into the Parabolica entry. To see if anybody's going to be able to send a move here down this long straightaway. It looked like Guerrero was a little bit offline there coming down through that sequence of corners. Could that cost him here down Parabolica? We'll have to wait and see. I think he was able to get the power up, but we've got a battle up for the lead. Dubinin and Ralston trying to duke it out here. That is going to be them down to the inside. Looking down to the inside is Dubinin. Great crossover move there from Ralston, though. David Ralston tries to get it done, but just not able to get the traction off the corner. He's going to keep the pressure on, though, here to the leader. Thinks about a little bit of a look at the entrance into the Mercedes-Benz Arena section, but has to back out of it. Not willing to go too wide through this section quite yet. These drivers have to be a little bit careful, though. Taylor behind them, only about 1.6, 1.7 seconds behind. If they keep squabbling like this, that means that this whole train of cars behind them is going to be brought right back into the mix here at this point. Excuse me. Taylor's only about 9/10 of a second back, so almost no distance at all. Little bit of a look there farther back. That's Jules Bouts trying to see if he's able to get anything as he has joined this battle, now putting pressure to the back of Mauricio Arede, trying to see if he can get anything done. Little bit of good lines there, working that outside sausage curve as they come down through the south curve. A great exit there for Bouts. He's going to have a look to the inside as they work their way down the start-finish straightaway, trying to see if he's going to be able to get on it. Gets onto the binders. Is he going to run wide, though? No, he's not. A picture-perfect move there from Jules Bouts, and that will move him up into 6th place over Maurizio Arede. Arede is going to have to try to hold on here and the slipstream as they once again work their way through the Parabolica entry and on to the fearsome long straightaway. Things looking a little bit more calm up at the front of the field. We don't have that side-by-side yet again, and now it's just a battle of trying to see how close you can pull up to the car in front of you. Arede doing everything he can in that number 16 machine to not lose positions here at this point. He is already down 4 positions, and with a little bit of what looked like a rear brake lockup coming down into the Spitzkehrer, that's not going to help his position at all. But as he continues to try to work his way around here, losing time, it looks like, to Jules Bouts. That gap already up to about 0.7 of a second here as they run. A little bit closer action up ahead. This is Guerrero, Josh Brain trying to close in down behind them. You can see the train of cars really filtering their way across as Dubinin, though, does look like they have got the lead of this race in the bag. 1.5 seconds already the gap. Ralston trying to do everything that they can to be able to close back in on your leader. Oh, we've had a spin in the back. That's Taylor. Taylor getting it wrong down through the Sachs curve. Not entirely sure what happened to him there. I just saw the car sort of arbitrarily spin off the track. Well, maybe see if we can get a replay to get exactly an idea of what happened. As here we go, brought to you by SDK Gaming. Comes down into the corner, gets onto the loud pedal. He was up onto the curbing. Oh, he tried to get on the throttle there on the exit of the Sachs curve and did it while he was up onto those ripple curves on the right-hand side of the track, and that was enough to send him around. But we've got to focus back in on that battle for the final podium position here. Javier Guerrero trying to hold off Josh Brain at this point. Brain looking like he's got a good run in the slipstream. He's going to take a look to the inside in that number 4 machine, dives down onto the binders, and it looks like, ooh, that was Jules Bouts with a good little heads-up move, recognizing that Guerrero was offline and absolutely taking advantage of the Iberian driver's misfortune. A heads-up move there for the Dayach driver. Absolutely incredible stuff. And now he's going to have his eyes focused on Josh Brain as we work lap number 4 of 14. Let's go back and check out a replay here. Let's ride on board with Jules Bouts. Look how far behind he was here at this point. The Benelux driver so far back, and just recognized that opportunity, carried enough speed into the corner, got down to the apex, and that is picture perfect in how you want to try to get an overtake done here down into the Spitzkehre. Now it's going to be Josh Brain who is under pressure here from Jules Bouts. That number 9 machine has certainly shown its pace around here today as they work their way out of the south curve right now, coming over the start-finish line, waiting to see what they are going to be able to do, getting a nice helping of the draft here down the short straightaway, and they are just to add a little bit of an exclamation point onto what was already a great couple of laps there. Bouts able to set the fastest lap of the race with a 1:33.84. Now they dive down into the parabolic entry. Bouts continuing to look very, very strong here as they bring their way out onto the parabolica itself. The gap between the two holding at about 0.3 of a second. It's coming down a little bit with the courtesy of the slipstream. Up in front of them, you're not missing anything as Dumoulin and Rolston are really separated out here. This is the best battle up in front of the field. Takes a little bit of a look there, does Jules Bouts, but decides against it, going down into the Spitzkehre. A little bit of side-by-side farther back in the field. That's Malo and Clark. Malo looking like he's been able to get that move done on the American quite easily, and he will move that number 1 machine up into prime position as here comes Bouts. We said that Mercedes Arena section was a possibility for an overtake, and Jules absolutely proving us right here today. A brilliant move coming down into the corner, and that will move him up into podium contention. So Jules on an absolute tear here up through the field. I'm showing him up 14 positions on the day. He is absolutely charging right now. A lot of speed in that number 9 machine. As right now we continue to watch Bouts. Brain trying to be able to put up a little bit of an attack here to see if he's going to be able to get anything as they go. Doesn't quite look like he's got the speed to be able to do it. These cars do suffer a little bit from the aero wash around this track, but it's not nearly severe as if you were running in an open wheeler or even a GT3 machine. We focus a little bit farther back in the field, though. Daniel Silva holding off Nicholas Taylor, and Miguel Enriquez Leon also involved in this battle right now. This is the battle for P9. It looks like Taylor there able to get a pretty good run out of the parabolic, out of the north curve, now into the parabolic entry. Going to take a little bit of a look at a move. That's not normally an area where you see overtaking get done, but Taylor says, I want to do it anyways. He's now going to be in a straight drag race between himself right now and that 9th place machine of Silva. It looks like Taylor may have a little bit of an advantage here. Let's see how they do this. And now thinking about making it 3 wide is Miguel Leon. Goes down to the inside, tries to make it work. He gets it done, but is there going to be a cross back there for Taylor? Taylor not able to get it done. Taking advantage of the battle in front of him was Miguel Enriquez Leon. An absolutely incredible move, but here comes Taylor looking down to the inside. He's going to be later on the binders. Does he track out a little bit too wide? No, he's able to keep the car underneath him, but Silva now is going to be the one on the attack with Leon being put a little bit offline. Let's see if they're able to do it here at this point. Look down to the inside, going down into Mobile 1. I wouldn't recommend going too wide through that corner. That is truly a one-way street down through there. So Silva's just going to have to wait another chance here as we start on lap number 7 here from Hockenheim. Your leader, Andrew Dubinin, up at the front of the field right now, absolutely dominant, setting a fastest lap of the race, which is immediately pipped away there by Malo farther back in the field with a 33.39. A very, very good run, but Dubinin absolutely no fear in the world, just running up ahead. David Rolston there in P2. They've got a pretty sizable gap on either side of him, back to Jules Bouts, but I wouldn't be surprised if we see Bouts maybe be able to close in that gap in the second half of this race. We have seen the speed out of that Benelux driver already over the course of this session. Could be some more to be had. A little bit of a move there in the back. Alfredo Malo trying to have a look there on Arete. Arete continues to just be hemorrhaging positions here, down 4 already. And Malo also down 4, but I think that was partially due to a little bit of contact there earlier on in the race. Malo will now have his eyes set on Javier Guerrero up in front of him to try to see if he's going to be able to get a good move there as they run. Trying to see what he can do here. waiting to see if anything is going to fire off there as they work their way out of the Mercedes Arena section. Waiting to see, ooh, a little bit of a brush with the outside wall there, it looked like, as they try to take the best apex they can through the corner. Now as they come down into the Sachs curve, not seeing any real overtaking here at this point, but this is your closest battle out on track right now. Garrow leading Malo, leading Arete, who's still holding on back to the coattails here of these two drivers, although it does look like Maurizio could be losing just a little bit of time. Malo, though, the one in the catbird seat. Good run there out of the south curve. He's going to cross over the start-finish line to take the halfway marker in this race. As now Garrow up ahead of him, runs a little bit wide, but Malo says, anything you can do, I can do better. Runs even wider still, trying to track as much momentum as possible through the north curve. They now dive down into the Parabolica entry, a crucial corner to try to set up that good run down this long straightaway that leads into the Spitzkehre. We're going to take a look on board here with Alfredo Malo. Let's see what he's got. The gap holding at about 2.5 tenths of a second here. It doesn't look like it's coming down all that much. Not seeing a lot of lifting and coasting there out of the Iberian driver. He looks pretty content to be where he is. Doesn't want to take too much of an aggressive run. A little bit of a wiggle of oversteer coming out of the corner, but Malo able to get that gathered up back up under him pretty easily, and it's not going to be too detrimental to his race running. Now diving into the Mercedes Arena section, able to gain some good time. Little bit of counter steering there having to be applied as now we exit out of the corner. This is a high-speed section of the track as they go, but it leads into an area where you really can't pass coming down here in through Mobile 1 and down into the Sachs curve right now. Trying to see what Malo can be able to get done here on Garrow. Looking like it's going to play itself out here at this point. He's just going to have to be patient as they get onto the binders here for the final two corners at this Hockenheim circuit. Now down through the south curve, getting onto the loud pedal at the apex is Alfredo Malo, waiting to see if he's going to have a good enough run here to be able to challenge. Dubinin continuing to pull away at the front of the field. They get themselves through the north curve. Both cars a little bit squiggly there, but Garrow looking the worse for wear as he almost got completely sideways coming up and over that curbing. Now dives down into the Parabolica entry, a little bit offline there for Garrow. This could be the opportunity that Malo needs, and he certainly knows it. He is on the loud pedal. He is going to be aggressive here. He is only about a tenth of a second behind Garrow right here. This could be the slipstream attack that Malo has been waiting for, and indeed he certainly thinks so as he pulls that number one to the inside. He's not quite able to get all the way ahead, but he's still going to poke his nose to the inside later on the binders, muscling his way on through, and that is how you get your elbows out going down into the Spitzkehre. A brilliant job for our number one driver of Alfredo Malo. A fantastic run there, and that'll see him promoted up into P5. There we see him on your circuit right now. He does have about a second to try to get up to Josh Brain to maybe be able to take away that P4. Garrow getting things a little bit wrong there in the back, running wide there on the exit of the Mercedes Arena section, and so that'll come back to hurt him a little bit, and indeed will grow that gap between himself and Malo up to about 0.7 of a second as they work their way through the Sachs curve right now. Leader coming out of the final corner right now to start on lap number 10. Only 5 laps to go here from Hockenheim as drivers navigate their way around this German circuit. The best battle that we continue to watch really is this sort of upper mid-pack battle as Malo now clean of all of that, and despite having to fight on that last lap, sets the fastest lap of the race with a 33.27. Now that should be very, very scary for these drivers in front of him, because remember, he had to get a pass done on that last lap, and if he's got that much raw pace held up underneath him, he certainly in clean air could be a force to be reckoned with. And look at this, he's already been able to close up 0.4 of a second onto the back of Josh Brain. Dare I say this here at this point, but I think Josh Brain may be a little bit of a sitting duck here at this point. Now they come down into the corner here, trying to see what they are able to do. The gap coming down to about 0.3 of a second between Brain and Malo. That number one machine continuing to charge up ahead, and see what they are able to do with about 4.5 laps left to go here from Hockenheim. A little bit of a wider line there for Josh Brain, maybe thinking of trying to run a little bit defensive, trying to see if he can maybe get a little bit of action on this side or the other. Getting onto the binders now for Mobile 1. Again, that's not really an overtaking opportunity, and I wouldn't expect Malo to try to go, but he does show his nose to the inside a little bit there into the Sachs curve. Maybe just trying to see if he can force a mistake out of Josh Brain and make his attempt to overtake a little bit easier here for that Iberian driver, Alfredo Malo. Now they come out of the south curve, crossing over the line with 4 laps to go. Let's see here if he's going to be able to get the run going through the north curve, going through the Parabolica entry to set himself up for another great pass here going down into the Spitzkehre. That would be, I think, what Malo is most hoping here to do, but we will have to wait and see. Ooh, takes a little bit of a later apex there, trying to maximize that momentum, and that worked out a treat for Malo. Look how close he is behind Josh Brain. Brain looking very fidgety there at that point, trying to see what he is able to do in terms of defense. Malo, though, is going to be able to sail up to the inside very late on the binders as compared to Brain, and he is going to have P4 all to his own. Dare I say, I think Josh Brain read the writing on the wall on that and got out of the way there for him. Well, we've got to focus in on a battle a little bit up the road from that. This is Ralston and Jules Bounce. Ralston getting it wrong, coming down through the Mercedes Arena section, and just as we go over to it, Jules Bounce able to jump his way up ahead and get into P2, taking advantage of others' misfortune there. A great run for Jules Bounce. Remember, he is up a whopping, I believe, 14, 15 positions on the day. He is just absolutely storming through the field. There you can see the change on your ticker. It is indeed 15 positions. Ralston looked like he tried to have a little bit of an attack there going down into those corners, but I don't think that's going to play out for him. It's too fast of an area. It's not heavy enough of a braking zone. My big question here, though, with 3 laps remaining in this race, is what is Malo able to do? Is Alfredo able to maybe close in on the back of David Ralston here? That gap isn't too much. It's only about 1.2 seconds, and with 3 laps and the outright pace that we've seen from Alfredo Malo, I've got to think he may be in here with a chance for a podium finish before everything is said and done. But we've got 3 laps to go before we come to that point on the track, so let's wait and see what ends up playing itself out here as they dive down into the Spitzkehre here, trying to see what they are going to be able to do here at this point. Not looking like we're going to see many overtakes there as they work their way out of the corner right now and down into the Mercedes-Benz Arena section. A little bit of a wider run there from Ralston. Want to give him credit. I thought here that Jules Bounce was going to be able to sort of streak away into the distance and absolutely leave Ralston a sitting duck, but that is not the case here. Ralston's been able to hold on to the back of Bounce relatively well and certainly be able to gain the advantage of the slipstream down the long Parabolica. Now, the flip of that is Malo is still coming on here. He's got that gap under about 0.8 of a second as they work their way through the Sachs curve, trying to see what they are able to do. But a good run here for Ralston. Ralston just continuing to hold right now, holding on to the back of Bounce up in front of him and probably keeping an eye in his rearview mirror here on Malo. But 2 laps to go from Hockenheim. Not a lot of time left for these drivers. I think Malo has really got to push here at this point if he wants to be able to be in with podium contention. As now we watch Malo. Wow, look at that braking down into the first 2 corners. Absolutely incredible stuff there from the Iberian driver. He is already in contention. He is already in position. He is already on the attack here, trying to close up behind David Ralston right now, and he's got a good helping of the draft. Tries to go a little bit to the outside there, going down into the Spitzkehre. Doesn't look like that was necessarily a full-on committed attack. Thought about for a second there, looking at the crossover, going down through the Spitzkehre, but that's not going to play itself out. Remember, he's still got about a lap and a half to be able to make this move, and with as much speed as we've seen from Malo, I wouldn't be surprised if he is able to get that a little bit going here just in about a lap's time. He's going to keep the pressure on the gap under 2.5 tenths of a second here. They have been effectively able to drop Josh Brain down to about 1.5 seconds, that gap here at this point. So right now, this is the battle for the final podium position. Really tracking out wide there was Alfredo Malo. That shows you how hard he is pushing that number one machine here at this point. Just trying to get everything out of the car and everything out of the track, trying to do what he can. Now let's wait and see here as they come down through the south curve, taking the white flag from Barney, the flag man up in front of the field. Dubinin absolutely of no concern to any of these drivers. He's got about a 2-second gap over Bouts right now. I think he's going to be in good contention. This is the battle that we want to be watching right now. Malo versus Rolston, the battle for the final podium position here from Hockenheim. They dive down into the Parabolica entry, trying to see what they're able to do. Looking for a crossover move there on the exit of the complex was Malo, but I'm not sure if that's going to play itself out. A little bit of radio chatter there between Malo and Rolston here as they go. Rolston's going to try to hold to what will be the outside of the Spitzkara. Here comes Malo down to the inside. We've seen him pull this move off many a time, and there Rolston tries to look for the over-under, trying to recognize that speed, but brilliantly defended at corner apex was Malo, just parking the car and able to get the move done. The Iberian driver is into podium contention. A fantastic drive here from Alfredo Malo. And remember, this has been a recovery drive for him. He started in P2 and has just had to work his way back up through the field. Your big mover on the day, though, is this man, Jules Bouts, who is up 15 positions. A whopping run there for him. Very impressive indeed, as all drivers now bring their way down through the Sachs curve for the final time. This man, though, Dubinin, up at the front of the field in that number 3, down through the penultimate corner, down through the Sachs curve. He has been dominant since the drop of the green flag. Andri absolutely putting that car where it needs to be, crossing over the start-finish line and taking victory from Hockenheim. Bouts will come home P2, Malo P3. Rolston and Brain will round out your top 5 with Garrow, Clark, Taylor, Erde, and Leon looking like they are going to round out your top 10. An absolutely fantastic run here. We're going to focus a little farther back in the field. This is Salas and Quinn right now as they work their way down through the south curve, waiting to see if they are going to be able to have anybody to play. Nope, looks like Salas and Quinn are both going to finish in 14th and 15th with really nothing to worry about. Robertson will come home in 16th, and then we wait for Alberto Moreno to cross over the line to come home 17th. We did have 2 DNFs on the day. That was Stuart Mathers and Jonathan Nichols. It looked like that they both did not make it. And there we can see Alberto Moreno crossing over the start-finish line there to finish out your running order from what was a really fantastic race here from the Hockenheim circuit. Absolutely incredible stuff from everybody here today. And now we wait a quick minute to see if we are going to have any drivers joining us here for interviews. Hope we do get to talk to them. I'd particularly like to talk to Jules Bouts there as he had a really great run up through the field. But our next track is, well, it's a newer track here to the circuit. It's going to be Rudskogen, the circuit that was added, I believe, 2 seasons ago. That will be the next track that we head to. That will be January 10th at the same time that we will be able to bring you that racing action for the Radical Racing Challenge. This is a weekly series, so we will be back week after week to bring you the action as always. But really and truly a fantastic battle here around this Hockenheim circuit. This was a circuit that was highly touted when it first entered into the iRacing simulator. Everyone was very excited about it entering in, and it has not disappointed. It is an absolutely fantastic track, and especially in some of these club-style cars like the Radical SR10, it has proved an absolute treat, not only to drive, but to race, and that is very important for them. But again, we head to one of those newer circuits, Rudskogen, which is going to be an absolutely fantastic run to see a little bit tighter, a little bit twistier of a circuit, kind of layers in over itself multiple times over the course of the running, and it is, I would call, a much more technical circuit than Hockenheim tends to be. But there, as we take a look at the Parabolica there and the Spitzkara, just waiting once again to see if we're going to have any drivers coming into the booth here to talk to us. But a fantastic season, and if you aren't familiar with any of the other amazing racing that we put on here on Apex Racing TV, jump on down, click that subscribe button, hit that like button here in YouTube if you want to, and subscribe to be able to get alerted to absolutely any of the racing that we put on. Just about any kind of racing in the world that you would want to see, Apex Racing TV is your home for it. It's absolutely incredible stuff, and will always bring you the highest quality of broadcast. So very, very good stuff there for that. And again, hop on down, hit that subscribe button, and if you like what you saw here today, and well, I can't imagine that you wouldn't like what you saw here today, go ahead and click that like button. But, folks, it does look like here that it is a lonely interview booth at the moment. I don't think we are going to have anybody jumping on up here into the booth to join us. So that, unfortunately, is going to round out our production here from today from Hockenheim. But on behalf of myself, DJ Clark, as well as our director and producer, Samuli Kumo, it has been an absolute pleasure to bring you the racing action. Tune in with us next week, as we head to Rudskogen. And until we see you on the track, thanks for watching.